It's Sunday morning, and you know what that means. It is time for the Sick Podcast. We'll talk Browns hosting the Chiefs. Fantasy football playoffs in full swing. And listen, we call it the Parlay Party. It's going to be a crazy Parlay Party. Get your NFL bets ready. Let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Chubba Lubba Hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. Holiday season. Christmas coming up quick. But there's some Browns business still. We're 3-10. There's still games left to play. As we march in a very unfortunate, familiar setting for the dog pound. And that is the stroll to ineptitude again. And at least now we can look forward to a first-round draft pick. Make sure you're clicking subscribe, notifications on. Jump in the chat as well. We're going to have a great time today on X, Twitter, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. You got your fantasy football questions. Get them in. Hashtag Ask Andy. Instagram and TikTok at AndyMC Sports. Fantasy football players. We got to get ready. I got a bunch of running backs that we can kind of maneuver in as we look at who's healthy and who's not going in. Some Browns news right off the bat. Myles Garrett is a half sack away from reaching career number 100 in the sack department. And in 2 games versus Patrick Mahomes, he has a sack in each of them. Hopefully he can rack up a couple more. And they're going to need him because the other pass rush help since the departure of Zadarius Smith has been pretty much non-existent. Yeah, Isaiah McGuire, nice pop out of a creative fumble last week against the Steelers. So that was good. And Myles got the fumble recovery there. So you got that. But Obo, it's just pretty average. So that's going to be yet another offseason requirement for the Browns. So we'll talk some fantasy football. But let's dive into this Browns-Chiefs game. And not just that, but also the big picture betting side. We're going to build a nice ticket today and have some fun. An old buddy of mine, he is one of the best NFL sports betting minds in the business today. It's the hustler, Andrew Paterson. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Andy, what is up? It is
Woo!
Great to talk to you. It's always fun when our teams go head-to-head.
Maybe for you.
I guess, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we're in sort of familiar spots. Chiefs getting ready for the playoffs, looking to hopefully get that number 1 seed, and a long off season for the Browns.
Oh.
But I'll tell you what, the Browns have been a lot more fun since Deshaun took a seat.
Well, that's true. And I was at the game, Huss, where Deshaun's Achilles exploded against the Bengals. I was there for that game. And it was Nick Chubb's return, and he got the touchdown and all that. And I'll tell you, people say what they want. Oh, how could people weren't booing or cheering because nobody knew in this team at the time that his Achilles exploded. It was like you're getting this dark cloud away. And since that happened, you're right. Jameis Winston, he's quoting, he's going. He has no idea where his conversation's going, but he somehow meanders there.
Or his passes.
But at least, Huss, if you have to stink, at least have it like entertaining. I don't know what's going to happen every time that guy touches the ball. I knew it was going to happen with Deshaun. I knew it was going to be 3-0, and he's going to get sacked at least once.
Well, listen, Jameis is must-see TV.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that you could have a team that's 3-10 that's already on to next season. And you're like, well, Jameis is starting? I can't miss this.
Right?
I mean, and what was it, the Monday Nighter 2 weeks ago against Denver? I mean, that's the all-time Jameis Winston game. And this is the guy that went 30 for 30.
Yeah.
30 touchdowns, 30 picks in a season. It'll probably never be done again. Like, I don't think a quarterback will be given enough rope to throw 30 picks like he was back then.
No.
Listen, I think I had the Broncos -6 in that game and was freaking out as they got down to the goal line, down 9, and then one more pick and it did it. But I mean, he had like 500 yards passing and then 2 long pick sixes. It was
but then Jerry Jeudy went for a career high over 200 yards. Like, that was how bizarre. Like, it wasn't just the pick sixes. He was lighting up Jerry Jeudy, who all of a sudden take away Deshaun Watson, give him a guy who can throw the ball a bit. Guy looks like a WR1.
Oh, hey, dude, that was the biggest revenge game of all time for an NFL receiver. No receiver had ever had more yards receiving against his old team than Jeudy did in that game. I think he went for
Really?
235 or something like that.
It was like, I believe it was either second or like a close third of all-time single-game Browns receiving record. Amari Cooper set the record last year against the Texans. But it was a wild game, and at least for this game, it's late December. The Chiefs still have something to play for the top seed, and the Browns with Jameis, they're not going to quit, and they're playing hard for whatever that's worth.
Well, they are. And listen, the Chiefs, listen, I hear it and I have to defend this team every single day in my conversations.
Yep.
I don't know. I would have thought that after last year, when the Chiefs lost on Christmas Day to the Raiders and everyone officially said there is no chance that they win again, and they went and they did it, we wouldn't have these same hot takes that are taking up the football space right now.
Lazy takes, Huss. Lazy takes.
I will remind everybody that Patrick Mahomes still plays quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Andy Reid is still the coach, and Spags is still the defensive coordinator.
Kelsey's still the go-to
in the playoffs. But I will admit that it has been a bit of a circus the way this team has won week after week after week. Well, that was the
outrageous.
I was telling you before, I was in Minneapolis for the Vikings-Falcons game with some buddies for the game last weekend. And so, we did our thing in the afternoon and then went out to watch the game. And I mean, I'm so used to this second half feeling of going, oh my God, I can't believe how close this game is. Oh my God. But you know what? There's something, and every Chiefs fan that's been around as long as I will tell you that there is a special confidence that you always have knowing that Mahomes is going to have the ball in his hand that is unlike anything I've ever had in sports. And like you, I mean, I've been a Chiefs fan for over 25 years. There were some lean years. There was some, we're talking about Brady Croyle and Brody Croyle. I mean, Brady Quinn was there for a little while. I mean, we had some terrible quarterbacks, some terrible teams. So to have a guy that's able to just change a game and say what you want about the offensive metrics of all of these top teams, here's what separates the Chiefs and why they're 12-1 right now and why they're not 8-4 or 7-5.
Sure.
It comes down to Mahomes in the clutch. They're done the style points era. I mean, they don't need to put up 50. Not that they really can't right now. But you look at the EPA per play on third down for quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is 50. The number 2 guy in the NFL is Josh Allen at 33.
Wow.
Like when on the key plays that determine the game, Mahomes is just so good and so clutch. And we saw it last week against the Chargers with those 2 massive third downs. They were able to run out the final 6 minutes.
When he slipped out of that tackle, which again, 9 times out of 10 that he goes down, slips away. Kelsey's wide open, magically goes, and then it doinks in off of it.
Well, and an unbelievable block by P. Ryan as well on that play.
Yes,
sort of looked like he got blown up, but you know what he did? He took out Derwin James. And you know what? It kind of brings us. I heard you mentioning, before about Myles Garrett going for a milestone sack on the weekend.
100, yeah.
The biggest concern, I mean, yes, Rashee Rice is out and Hollywood Brown's out, who's actually going to be returning to practice on Monday, which will be big. He should be ready to go for the playoffs, and I think that should really help Kansas City and certainly Mahomes with another legitimate option to get to. But the problem with the Chiefs, and this hasn't been a conversation we've had in a lot of years, is the tackle position. Yeah. I mean, Jawan Taylor is a human flag waiting to happen on the right side. And, sometimes the refs will call it early and get him on the line. Sometimes they'll wait, but he's good for a couple of those penalties a game. Usually good for a holding call. And then on the other side, Wanya Morris was just getting absolutely turnstiled by defensive ends and edge rushers throughout the league to the point where they actually moved Joe Thuney from guard to tackle a couple of games ago during the game. Now, they had DJ Humphries who came back. He hadn't played since last year.
Right.
He started. He was okay, I guess, but it wasn't like Trent Williams was coming out of the closet and all of a sudden they're taking care of things.
Yeah.
That has really been a problem right now for the Chiefs offense and why we haven't seen more points and more consistency from them. And I guess on a good note, you mentioned the injuries that Cleveland has, and it really is kind of Myles Garrett and a bunch of guys. They're going to need to have two guys paying attention to Myles Garrett the entire day because
which he's used to.
As a Chiefs guy, you do not want to have Patrick Mahomes dealing with too much Myles Garrett, and you need to put whatever resources you have to do to take care of that guy first, and then figure it out. But watch that matchup, whoever is in at the tackle position and how the Chiefs are handling Garrett, because that's job number one once they get out there with the football.
Well, you're absolutely right. And for Garrett, he is super motivated for a 3-10 team, and mainly because TJ Watt pissed him off a few weeks ago. Remember, he commented on the TJ Watt said he should have been Defensive Player of the Year, and Myles cut a promo after. He's like, I'm number one. I'm the one. He's like, come on, brother. And like, look, Myles Garrett is motivated and going to be after it. Now, like you said, the problem is kind of, a bit of everything else not named Denzel Ward. We also, I don't know if you saw this, the Browns also cut a former Chief, Kadarius Toney, who was a complete meathead. He had one good Super Bowl play for you, though. Longest punt return in Super Bowl history.
Hey, listen.
He gave you that.
That punt return in the Super Bowl is the lone redeeming quality of Kadarius Toney's time with the Chiefs.
Yep.
For a guy that is incredibly talented. I mean, you want to talk about God-given tools. I mean, he's fast, he's big, he's got massive hands. And yet there's never been a guy that couldn't put it together like Kadarius Toney. I mean, the fact that he was traded after being a first-round pick by the Giants so early in his career, I think told us something. But the Chiefs, to their credit, have been great with resuscitating players' careers, giving them another chance. Andy Reid's brilliant at finding places for guys to make a difference and take advantage of their skill sets. They tried to do that with Kadarius. And I mean, I don't want to go down too much down the history rabbit hole, but we will all remember Chiefs-Lions game number 1 last year. And that was a game that Detroit beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
If you recall, the drops that Kadarius Toney had in that game was literally the worst receiving game of all time, because if he had just played DB in that game, Andy, if every time Patrick Mahomes threw him a ball, if he had just batted it down, the Chiefs win that game.
Oh my God.
But not only does he not catch any, he basically sets up volleyball style, a beautiful set to the Detroit secondary on another one of his drops that ended up going pick 6 and ended up being the difference in the game. So the trials and tribulations of Kadarius Toney were humorous, except if you were a Chiefs fan last year. And I did chuckle when I saw him playing for the Browns, but
muffed the punt, and he ran like, he gave like 2 decent punt returns. I was like, okay. And then he muffed one, and then he got a taunting penalty for after a fair catch throwing the ball at a Steelers player. It's like, get the hell out of here, guy. Go away.
So stupid.
What are you doing? So he's out of the way. Kadarius Toney. All right. Here's interesting. Let's tie this into the betting side now here. We're looking Chiefs-Browns. Chiefs 4.5-point road favorites. But the interesting thing, of course, Huss, you mentioned it, the scoring, the style points are gone. Chiefs haven't covered, if my math is correct here, I believe 8 straight weeks.
I think it's 7 for sure. But yeah, they're I think this would be the 8th. The bottom line is it's been 2 months since they've covered a number.
So what is that? So it's them coming into Cleveland, a 3-10 Browns team, which does have talent, which things have gone sideways, of course, but are going to be a hard out. Do you bet against the spread?
Listen, and you know me as a guy, like I have on occasion when I've thought the Chiefs are really going to break out, and I'll tell you when that was. It was the Raider game in Vegas. I was at that game. That was at the end of October. They were up by 14 and they just sit back and allow a backdoor cover touchdown late. And then this other Raider game that ended up, well, we all remember how that one ended up with the mystery snap to an unsuspecting Aiden O'Connell, which turned an almost sure win for the Raiders into another
amazing
win for the Chiefs. I've suspended betting the Chiefs covering a spread for the foreseeable future.
You'd be in a 7-game hot streak if you bet them to.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I guess you could fade them. I'm probably not going to do that, but I certainly am not going to sit here and tell people, yeah, this is the week they're going to blow it up and cover the number. It could happen, but I'm not expecting it. I'm just expecting them to find a way to win and get to 13-1 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 is 4.5 on the board right now. I'll tell you what, from a Cleveland perspective, they played good teams really tight. I mean, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers before. I mean,
beat the Ravens.
This team is no joke. I still think they're very well coached. They've had their hands tied behind their back with the Deshaun Watson disaster all season long. And now they got Jameis, who is, you just got to take the good with the bad right now. And depending on how it works out, you might win the game. You might lose by 21, but it'll be a hell of a lot more fun to watch than with Deshaun in there right now.
What a poison.
For it. So, I mean, listen, I'm thinking, like, I don't mind putting the Chiefs on the money line in maybe on some other games with the parlay, because I do expect them to find a way to win, as they usually do. But it is very tough anywhere, home, on the road right now with what the Chiefs have, to feel any level of confidence they're going to actually cover a number.
I'll tell you this as an add-on to that. And let's do money line. Let's start building the parlay party ticket here. Let's do the money line. I'm saying anytime touchdown Kareem Hunt. I know Pacheco's back, but going up against his former Browns team, if they're within the 5, at home in Cleveland, hometown guy, I think they're going to let Hunt get a little taste. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't mind that. And I've been really high on Kareem Hunt. I mean, when he came in, he really did add a lot to the Chiefs backfield, because they weren't getting it from pretty much anybody else that was left over after Pacheco was done. And I would normally be all over it. I am a little concerned that their focus is going to be on really getting Pacheco going. I mean, he's had a couple games. I have a feeling that this will be one, if he gets rolling, I think they'll really give him the rock. And listen, situationally, if it does get around the goal line and Pacheco's had a big part of it, could Kareem Hunt absolutely be part of that backfield and get a touch or two? For sure. And I think in other situations, the way you're thinking about it absolutely makes sense. I would certainly put that on if you want to put a sprinkle on Kareem Hunt at whatever, plus 225, something like that. Probably wouldn't put it in we always do a house callers every week and try and put a few guys together that we're thinking that'll get in the, I mean, again, Pacheco, I'm not sure what number you're seeing right now. I'm seeing around even money to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like if he's able to do that, I think he's the most likely guy to score basically for Kansas City, is what I'm saying. I'd love to say Patrick Mahomes with 3 or 4 touchdowns, but he doesn't really do that until he really needs to do it. And I think they're going to try and run the football a lot this week, but both of those guys may get in. We'll see.
They could. Okay, let's see. Commanders, New Orleans. Commanders on the road, 7.5-point favorites. Derek Carr, he's banged up. I think the Commanders cover this. Do you like that?
Off the top of my head, yes. But who is this guy that's starting for the Saints? They picked him in the 4th round.
Spencer Rattler, is it?
No. He's not out. This is funny, Andy. This is a guy.
Hold on here. Let's see.
You got to go.
Jake Haener.
Jake Haener.
Oh, boy.
Who there's some hype in and around it. Like, I don't trust the Saints, and the Saints are done. I do think that there might be some real excitement of a rookie quarterback that they drafted getting his first chance to come in and actually play. And I don't really trust the Commanders right now. Like, I love Jaden Daniels.
Me too.
But I just have a feeling, I mean, they got fat and happy early on playing some really bad teams. Now, this is another bad team. So, I mean, this is right.
And Daniels overcame the ribs, too. He's past the rib issue.
No, for sure. And they were on the bye last week, too, if I'm not mistaken. So
they're fresh.
They're actually coming in on a good spot. It's a big number. And of the games that I was looking at, I kind of was thinking stay away on this one, because I'm not sure I want to trust the Commanders to go into a tough place historically to play in the Saints. And I think people will really be behind this team and this rookie quarterback, because you think that the Browns fans were done with Deshaun Watson. It's probably only slightly less in New Orleans with the level of fatigue that place has for Carr right now.
The only difference is they're not trapped with a albatross contract and dead cat money. That's the upside. I would take 2. I couldn't find it on here, but if there's a Jake Haener anytime interception, I'm doing that. Maybe I'll put that with my separate Kareem Hunt bet on an anytime touchdown.
Yes, that's actually not Kareem Hunt and a Jake Haener pick.
Let's go. There we go.
Not too bad. I mean, listen, if you want to get on it, you can do that. There's probably some other games, I guess, depending on how many we want to put on.
Okay, what do you like on it?
That would be one of the last games that I would be looking at. Let me ask you right off the bat, like, this is a huge Sunday, some massive games, especially in the late slate after the Chiefs and the Broncos are done. Where are you at on this Bills Lions game? Bills coming off a tough loss to the Rams last
Josh
week.
Allen did everything.
44. I mean, Josh Allen did everything and still lost.
6 touchdowns he was a part of. 6!
Yeah.
He
fantasy playoffs this week, thanks to that guy.
It's wild. Yeah. Fantasy-wise, he was off the charts. Now, Bills have had a lot of weather, and we were talking before the show, they haven't been able to practice much all week, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, more like ridiculous lake effect snow. People weren't able to travel around Buffalo.
Yeah.
They basically did their walkthrough on Monday and have been sort of shut down since then. Like, I think this line is disrespectful to Detroit, to be perfectly honest with you.
Me too. And 2.5. I kind of like the over-under, to be honest. I know that anytime it hits 50, I get nervous because we could easily see it be some weird other way defensive, very tentative. I'm kind of liking that over 54.5 and maybe the Lions straight up money line. Those are kind of the 2 spots that jumped out to me.
Huge number. Listen, I'm on the Lions on the money line. I'm also on the Lions on the spread. And, originally I was thinking, man, I'm really going to hope that the Lions can take out the Bills this week just to help the Chiefs for the number 1 seed. But after the Bills lost last week, the Chiefs have a bit of a cushion. I still really like Detroit. Like, they're coming off. They've got extra rest coming into this game, having played on the Thursday of the week before. They are at home where they have been an absolute scoring machine. Okay. Like, if the Rams did what they did to Buffalo in their defense last week, what the hell can the Lions do on a fast track? Like, I know Josh Allen's been Superman this year, but I'm sorry. I'm not sure whether he can replicate what he did last week against the Rams, because that's pretty much what I think it's going to take. So I don't mind the over. I am absolutely in on Lions minus 2.5. I think this line should be more like 3.5 or 4. Like, are you telling me right now, usually the home team will get 3 points from the odds makers? You're telling me that these two teams on a neutral field, the Bills would be a half-point favorite? I don't buy that.
No, I don't buy that either. Okay, we'll take Detroit 2.5. Bears, Vikings. I think there's an opportunity here, Huss. And you saw the Vikings the other week. A touchdown favorite minus 102 on the spread. I'm loving that over the Bears. Like, Sam Darnold, like, I don't know if O'Connell isn't the coach of the year for resurrecting a career of Sam Darnold. And here's the thing, Huss. Darnold, it wasn't like he was like Russell Wilson, really good, petered out, and it's coming back. Sam Darnold always sucked, always was bad, never good. And now he's rocking. I love that 7 points.
Let's not forget that he was drafted as a 20-year-old, and he was drafted to the New York Jets.
Yep.
Like, the Jets,
2018.
The Jets are so poorly managed that, like, I don't even know if he really had a chance.
No, it's all about situation.
Going into that.
Think about this.
And then
if Josh Allen went to anybody else, it's all about situation. If Josh Allen, and you can make the same argument for Bo Nix in Denver. It's so much about situation. Josh Allen is the Ross talent, the biggest bust or bottom out guy going into that draft. And if he ended up in the Jets, I bet you he might not even be in the league. Like, that's how crazy it can be. Just depends where you go. And now he's popped up. So do we want Vikings with the 7 over the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If you can get, I don't know whether it's the alt line, like what 6.5 is. I would probably prefer the 6.5 if you can get it. I think there's a few out there. Not sure what DraftKings has it posted at, but 7, sure. I 6.5 being just one of those numbers. If you've got a touchdown,
minus 118.
You know what? I say we throw it at minus 118 with it, just in case they do win by a touchdown. Sometimes you're up by 10. The team kicks a field goal to get within 7. There's always a chance on the garbage time. But yes, I do love the Vikes, and I can tell you, having been at US Bank Stadium last weekend, Sam Darnold, aka Sammy Darts, is on one. He's playing so well right now. Do you know that 13 games this year, he has an NFL leading 11 games with a quarterback rating of over 100. I mean, the guy has just simply been awesome this year.
Never stop dreaming, kids. Never stop dreaming.
KOC. Hey, listen, the big conversation in Minnesota right now is, are they going to have to sign him?
Look, and I was thinking this too. Here's what I think needs to happen, because you still have JJ McCarthy. I'm not a JJ McCarthy guy at all, Huss. I think I've said before on my show, I think he's Mac Jones with a better haircut. I'm not a believer in him. I think he's very mid, but if it depends in the playoffs. If they go and it's a magic season and then you get dumped and Sam Darnold looks like old Sam Darnold, what if they win a playoff game or two? You're telling me you're going to walk away from Sam Darnold for some guy?
Well, and listen, it's not just some guy. I mean, he was a national champion. He was a first-round pick. They put a lot in it. I know you and all the Ohio people in Ohio State.
I don't like him, Huss.
Michigan. I get it. I totally get the built-in biases. But listen, there's a reason why he was picked where he was. He was thought to be, and they've invested a lot as him as the quarterback of the future. But when you blow your ACL the way that he did, there's not even a guarantee that he's going to be ready to go for week 1 next year.
That's true.
And I think they got Daniel Jones. They got Daniel Jones thinking that he could be an adequate backup, which I think Danny Dimes can be in the NFL.
Sure, I believe.
And I mean, for Jones, he sees what's happened with Darnold and realizes, like, is there a better place for me to sort of get rehabilitated in the NFL than with the Vikings with KOC?
Yeah.
But man, if they win a playoff game, if they get to the NFC Championship game, God forbid they pull an upset and they make it to the Super Bowl, how do you walk away from it? I don't think you can.
Can you franchise tag him? I'm not sure of the rule.
They can. They can. Now, again, if you did that, you're going to probably, I don't know what the average of the top 5 quarterback salaries is right now, but it's probably going to be pushing 55, 60 million.
For 1 year, depending if the cap's going to go up as well. I don't know their cap situation, but.
So there's that. Or maybe he takes the bird in the hand and say, hey, here's a 4-year, $120 million deal or something like that, where he's guaranteed 25 or 30 for the next little bit, plays, they see what's up with JJ McCarthy, and then can make a decision as to who they trade. I mean, that's probably the best case scenario for the Vikings, because you would not want Darnold to have this incredible season, then walk for nothing. And you'd also probably like to have him around for next year for sure, with the caveat that if things are going well and the plan is moving forward with JJ McCarthy, you know there'll be some demand for Sam Darnold. Like if Darnold had signed a deal where there was no way he could be franchised and he was going to be a free agent no matter what, based on what he's done this year, there would be plenty of teams, I think, that would be taking a run at Sammy Darts.
Absolutely. What a league. Who would have thought we'd be saying anything about Sam Darnold? And here we are. Let's do 2 more games here, Huss, to add to the ticket. Any that jump out to you like? Panthers, Cowboys, Ravens, Giants? What do you like?
Here are some of the games that I do like. And are you seeing 2.5 or 3 for the Panthers and the Cowboys?
I'm seeing 2.5. Panthers favorites. Imagine we had this conversation in September. You'd be like, what?
First time in 2 years that they've been a favorite.
Does that stink to you a little bit? Like, I know they've been game. The Panthers have been spicy a little bit, but like,
no, you know what stinks to me? The Dallas Cowboys.
What do you mean?
They're so broken. I mean, you saw Micah Parsons blocking that punt and then having the guy fumble it, and then losing the game. I mean, they're so at the end of the road. They, of course, are playing on the short week. They're traveling. And I got to tell you, I think Carolina has something good going on right now. Bryce Young, I don't know if we've ever seen a player picked as highly with as much on his shoulders coming into his second season, that was benched and basically written off as a bust, come back a month later and look like an entirely different quarterback. Yeah. I got to tell you, in that Chiefs game 2-3 weeks ago, I was so impressed with Bryce Young. I mean, Spagnuolo was throwing blitzes at him, and he was staying in the pocket. He was making great throws, and that has continued. I mean, they were right there to beat the Eagles last week.
Sure. They've been hanging around.
Their new coach and quarterback, Canales. I think they've got some. Yeah, Canales. I think he's he's really navigated these very difficult waters, I think, well. They've been close these last few games. I think this is the week that they get the win, actually. And again, the 3 was a little bit much to me because I do think this will probably still end up being a close game. But I don't mind them at 2.5 if you like that one. Yep. The other game, what are you seeing for Pittsburgh, Philly?
I'm seeing that game scares me because of that Steeler defense. 5.5 Eagles in Philly.
5.5. I'm all over the Steelers. I think the Steelers, for whatever reason, and maybe this goes back to people's takes at the start of the year, and I know being a Browns and AFC North guy, you probably don't want to hear this. Death taxes and Mike Tomlin having a winning season and making the playoffs.
And then losing in the playoffs. Also money.
Well, for sure. I mean, listen, like, hey, but you got to get there. I mean, they're a competitive team right now.
Yeah, they are.
I will put my cards on the table here, Andy. I don't know if there's one guy I can't stand more in the entire National Football League than Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've sort of had to eat my words a little bit over the last couple months.
Yeah.
After they were 2-2, I thought that he was going to be fired. I expected
yelling at the fans. Yeah.
But the funny thing is right now is you see what's come out with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown over this last week and everything going on. And I jokingly said, "Oh, don't worry, Eagle fans. Nick Sirianni's got this all under control." Like those guys really respect him moving forward. Here, I'm going to throw out the teams that the Eagles have beat on this stretch. Your Cleveland Browns, tight game, 4-point game. They smashed the Giants. They beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who've been losing to everybody this year. They get by the Jags, 28-23. They smashed the Cowboys. They beat the Commanders. Nice win against the Rams where they ran all over them. That tight win against the Ravens. And then a win against the Panthers. I mean, the Ravens are a quality team. The Rams have looked great at some points and not good on others. And that game in particular, they didn't look good. But other than that, I mean, they've really feasted. Like, I guess my point is they, just from a defensive standpoint, and let's include the Ravens and let's include the Rams, they are moving up multiple weight classes going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers are throwing at them this year.
Yes.
They have the 31st or 32nd ranked passing game in the league. Saquon Barkley in that running game is not going to just walk all over the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which tells me this is going to be a short game. And I'll tell you what, Russie is slinging it right now. He's born again in Pittsburgh.
He's
playing well. To me, this is a disrespectful line to Pittsburgh. I think people are putting too much in on Philadelphia. They still can't believe what Russell Wilson and the Steelers have done so far. Make no mistake, y'all in Cleveland know the Steeler defense is no joke.
Legit.
Expecting the Eagles to cover by 6, I think, is a big number. I love Pittsburgh in this situation to at least cover the spread. They might not win the game, but they'll be there in the fourth quarter.
I was going to say, do you want the money line or to cover? Cover safer?
Yeah, cover definitely safer. I mean, I might throw a little sprinkle on the Steelers money line at more than 2-1.
Yeah,
plus 215. That's a good number there. If you do like Pittsburgh at DraftKings, that is a good number. But yeah,
that's not bad.
I like the Steelers plus 5.5. We've got the Vikings. We've got the Lions.
Let's do one more to make it a lucky 7. Packers Seahawks.
Listen, I'm impressed with what Geno Smith has been doing. I think they've had a couple real big wins lately, but to me, the Packers are just a much better, deeper team than Seattle is right now. I mean, I will begrudgingly give Philadelphia the benefit of the doubt and include them in the top 4. But for a long time, up until when I had to begrudgingly give Philadelphia their respect, I was pretty clear. I thought that the 3 best teams in the NFC were all in the NFC North. The Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers.
Yeah.
And listen, Seattle, full marks to them, and Geno Smith, who's basically doing it all on his shoulders right now. Kenneth Walker is returning to the game. But I like Green Bay here minus 2.5. I think that this race right now in the NFC North is such that they could essentially sort of clinch in their spot. Now, if the Vikings win again, they might be in that zone where they pretty much know they're going to be the 6th seed for the last couple of weeks of the season. But this would be good, too, for football fans. We've already seen the Rams win this week. If the Seahawks lose, regardless of what happens with the Cardinals, although they've got the Patriots, I think they probably do win that game.
Yeah.
At least we'll have one legitimate race for a division title right now. Because with the way Atlanta's going and the way Tampa's going right now, even though Atlanta has the tiebreaker over the Bucks, I'm not sure we're going to be within 2 games as we move forward. So I like the Packers there. A couple other games that I do like. I don't mind Indy plus 4.5 in Denver. I think that's going to be a much closer game than I think a lot of people expect.
Okay.
And the other one that people can guess, and what are you seeing for the Charger Buccaneers line there, Andy?
3-point favorite for the Chargers.
3-point favorite for the Chargers, and what's the number on it? Is even money?
We got minus 104 for the Chargers, minus 118 for the Bucks.
Okay. I like Tampa in this game. I think Baker Mayfield and this team is really rolling. And listen,
doing good.
The Chargers are beat up, and most importantly, Justin Herbert is. He such
got
a great
that
player.
leg.
Yeah. He doesn't have the receivers. They don't really have the running game right now.
J.K. Dobbins is out now.
So much of it is on him. So the Buccaneers plus 3 is another number that I like. And, if we're looking just, aside from our big parlay, if you do want to put a few underdogs together that I think could win, Pittsburgh is one of those teams that I think could win.
Right.
The Buccaneers at plus money absolutely could win. I don't feel this as strong about putting the Colts on a money line play as much as I do that this is going to be a close game, and I'll take the 4.5 points. So those are basically some of my favorite ones, but I'm just looking right now. I'm just
plus Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. We'll put that in the after party pool, right?
Hey, dude, you want another one? And I'll give credit to my pal JBM from the Lock Shop. He brought this up yesterday. My long shot touchdown prop this week, and it's a game that we haven't talked about, is from the Ravens-Giants game.
Oh.
And that's the biggest spread of the year.
Tommy
by a
DeVito
considerable amount. Like I'm seeing 16.5. What are you seeing right now?
I got 16.5.
So 16.5 road favorite for the Baltimore Ravens. The Giants are an absolute disaster. Anytime touchdown scorer, go down and check out where Justice Hill is. Because Derrick Henry's had an unbelievable season. But, if they're up as people expect them to be up, as they will in the second half, do you think they're going to be giving Derrick Henry another 15 carries? No.
Right.
They're going to be getting to some of these backups. And Justice Hill's a guy that when he's been given the football has been explosive. He's been able to get into the end zone. So, I've seen out there anywhere like 4-1, close to 4.5-1 for Justice Hill for a touchdown. So if we want to think game script and a guy that might get in at a much bigger number, Justice Hill in the Ravens game. Shout out to my guy JBM for bringing that one up yesterday, and I am already.
Okay. I like that. That'll be part of the after part. Our other game line bets, our 8-leg parlay, because I added in the Cardinals straight up to win money line. Plus 5,515 $10 bet gets us $551.59.
I love it, Andy.
It's not a bad little Sunday. Not a bad little Sunday. Huss, love having you on, buddy. We could talk all day. Where can people find you and get all your tremendous content, buddy?
Yeah, every day, Winnipeg Sports Talk. You can check us out on YouTube. Give us a sub there. Winnipeg Sports Talk on all your podcast feeds, and that's on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Also do a daily betting show featuring a lot of NFL talk, but a lot of hockey for you puckheads out there. Search the Lock Shop and jump in on that. That's every day. Noon Central, so I guess 1 Eastern, and then the big show, the daily 2-hour plus Winnipeg Sports Talk goes 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and would love to see a few members of the Dog Pound pop in and hang out with us someday on WST.
Jump on in, Lock Shop WST. Huss, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, Andy. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
Thank you. You too. There he goes. Andrew Paterson, the Hustler, brought you on the Stadium Mustard Hotline, folks. I know Huss likes some mustard. I certainly do. I tried on pork chops the other week. Last Sunday, pork chop, I was at a barbecue shop. I tried some Stadium mustard on. Sensational. I loved it. From ballparks to backyards, everywhere in between, Stadium mustard is a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium mustard is real and organic, not manufactured. You can get it at Cleveland Browns Stadium, Huntington Bank Field, whatever you want to call it. I've had it there all across Cleveland, Ohio, the U.S., and Canada. Stadium mustard for your deli sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs. Like I said, pork chops. Loved it on the pork chops. Why not? And our Parlay Party ticket, our sick picks with Hustler, have been brought to you by DraftKings. And folks, you're looking at for DraftKings, you sign up right now. You use code 6sports. You get a $200 bonus bets when you bet just $5. 200 bonus bets with just a $5 bet. Sensational. DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download it. Use code 6sports. That $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus money. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, there you go, folks. Now it's fantasy football time. All right, we jump in the chat. We see Griff's in the house here and ready to win some money. That's right, Griff. Let's go, WYC football talk. I'll have Griff on the show again soon. We got a big parlay. I like kind of the after party one too, kind of those subs that you don't necessarily want to put on your main ticket, but those after ones like the Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. I got a feeling on that one. Fantasy football wise, though, David Njoku game time decision for the Browns. So if you are depending on the Chief, you might want to make some alternate arrangements. Like right now, I would be looking at, is Hunter Henry available? He was around the 50% ownership mark. He might be there, but take a look at the tight ends on your waiver wire. And if you're depending on the Chief, make some decisions. It's going to get tough. Now, Tony Pollard is expected to play, been battling through that ankle, was limited earlier in the week, but participated Friday, should play. Ladd McConkey should play. Now, that guy was supposed to play last week, cost me a playoff spot in one of my other leagues because I set the lineup, and like an hour before the game, I was busy, and he was ruled out, got a big fat 0 in there. I'm not too happy about Ladd McConkey, so we'll track that. I have as a backup, just in case, Keon Coleman for the Bills, who's healthy. Obviously, I don't like it as much as Ladd McConkey, but it's an area with the Lions where we could be seeing a shootout. Now, remember, like we talked about, the Bills haven't been able to practice much all week. How much does that make a difference to your fantasy team? The Pollard thing, I do like seeing him in there. We'll get to Ask Andy in a moment. Got some questions in here. Sterling Shepard, not that you're relying on him, is questionable. Should play for the Buccaneers. Bucky Irving, that's a big play for Tampa Bay. Listed as questionable for Sunday. Back and hip injuries, is expected to play versus the Chargers. So we have a couple that we got to watch there with Ladd McConkey and the Bucky Irving sign. Rachaad White is a go. So that's something to keep in mind and keep an eye on. Breece Hall for the Jets, listed as questionable for Sunday due to a knee injury, is expected to play versus the Jaguars. So if you are a Braylon Allen owner, if you are a Isaiah Davis owner, picking them up as handcuffs, keep an eye. This could just be a schmoz if he plays, and is he getting a couple snaps? It could just be a 3-headed soft committee for that one. Josh Downs for the Colts, questionable for Sunday. Shoulder injury, is expected to play as well. So those are some of the injury updates. We'll keep you up to date. Anything else that pops in there? Griff says under in your game, in the Chiefs-Browns game. I'm kind of feeling that too, man. Because we got, what? It's at now, I'm looking 41.5. This kind of feels like the temperature in Cleveland looks clear, overcast 41 Fahrenheit. So above freezing, for mid-December in Cleveland. That's pretty good. I'm kind of feeling that under too. That's like, that doesn't seem too exciting. And hey, if you want to go with the trends, the Chiefs have not covered the spread 8 straight weeks. So, keep that in mind as well if you're laying a bet. All right, we got some fantasy questions, and let's get to #AskAndy. Let's jump into our chat questions here. Remember, click subscribe, notifications on, jump in the chat live. Fantasy football questions answered. Use hashtag Ask Andy if you're putting it on Twitter, on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, and Instagram at AndyMC Sports. Let's start with our buddy Joseph Rasitano. What do we got, Joseph? Morning, Andy. Need some help picking one RB in my full PPR league. I have the following options: Bigsby, Sincere McCormack, Javonte Williams, Edwards, Allen, or Spears. Too many RB injuries, I feel. And Joseph, good job on stacking. Like I said on Tuesday's show, you got to be stockpiling, right? There's a whole bunch of ifs and whats and questions. Who do you go? So how many do you need? You need some help. If you need one, okay. Well, you know what? Again, good for you for building up that roster. I'm cutting out Edwards, Spears, Allen, Williams straight away. Gone. For Edwards with the Chargers, they're just mismatching, mix and matching with Dobbins out. Javonte Williams, Spears, Pollard's going to play. Allen, like I just said, you got Allen. Is it Davis? Is it Hall? Is it all three? Is it some? Is it not? Too many questions. Sincere McCormack with the Raiders looks like he should be getting a full workload again. Travis Etienne for the Jags has just been atrocious based on where you're drafting him. Bigsby's been banged up. It looks like he's going to be the guy going forward. And has had some standalone value this season. Let me just do a quick little checky on Bigsby here. Yeah, we're going up against the Jets. He had 13.2 fantasy points in full PPR last week. I like Sincere McCormack. Now, again, the Raiders stink. But the guy showed last week he could step up. What I always love this time of year where you get like just these rando running backs, right? And they just pop up and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Who thought Sincere McCormack, who I have on one of my fantasy teams as well, who thought Sincere McCormack was going to do it? Look at here's what we got to look at. We got to look at the volume. 2 weeks for Sincere McCormack. 12 carries 2 weeks ago. 15 carries and 78 yards. Also had a pair of catches. Now, no touchdowns over that stretch, meaning we're kind of limited in that low double-digit phase, which is the same with Bigsby. So what matchup do we like? Atlanta's been soft. I think we go with the Raiders and McCormick on that one. So let's pop him in there, and we'll go with McCormick for fantasy. We got Griff here. What do we got? We have YWC, Sutton or Odunze. Oh, Lordy. Do we want to trust this Bears team? Like, the Bears are in that kind of weird spot, right? Where it's like, okay, what are we trying to do here with this offensive coordinator? We're playing Monday. It's against Minnesota. Big week last week with 2 touchdowns. But let's not let that point total fool us, right? Because the stats were around the same and the yardage total were low like in previous weeks. So he had 4 catches, 5 targets, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's why we got the 20. Week before, 6 targets, 2 catches, 4.5 fantasy points. Week before, 8.9 fantasy points. So that, like, we obviously can't count on a double touchdown game. If we get that, great. We're feeling good. And then we look at Cortland Sutton with Indianapolis. The volume there is just coming out of the bye too. Yeah, we got to go Cortland Sutton. That volume is gorgeous, right? He had 102 yards against the Browns before their bye week. Before that, 29 points, had a couple touchdowns, 10 targets. That's what we're looking at, the volume. 10 targets, 8 targets, 9, 10 going back, 11 the week before that. I think no question we're going Cortland Sutton on that one with that matchup. We got to go there. Let's bring up from Twitter at AndyMC81 at SickPodBrowns. We got from at Ben Tiff. Andy, my wide receivers are Higgins, Ridley, Shakir, Jameson Williams, and Downs for 2 roster spots. Who you got? Hashtag Ask Andy. So Downs, as I read, is going to be back. I just can't trust Anthony Richardson. I can't really trust him. Ridley doesn't do it for me. I like Jameson Williams. I like Williams. I think we're going. Let me just check Higgins here. One sec here, because I like Williams. Where's Higgins? Against Tennessee. And Tennessee's defense, while stout before, has taken a bit of a tumble. Game script, he only had a couple versus Cincinnati. That's the trouble when you have Jamar Chase as the lead dog, right? And Shakir. So up to date on everything with him. Now, you do have, like I said, Keon Coleman back, Amari Cooper clicking as well. I think the safest probably is Shakir with the volume, because while it's the Josh Allen show, you can make the argument Shakir's the go-to. So let's go Shakir and Williams for those two spots. Yeah, if you're in a pinch, I don't mind Higgins or Downs, but out of this group, Shakir and Williams would be it for me. I think that makes the most sense. Griff says, I lean Sutton, but need to ask my friend Andy. That's right, baby. That's why. Come to the show, Griff. That's right, buddy. Yeah, I just think with Sutton and the way Bo Nix, we have to look at the trends, and especially with fantasy football playoffs, we don't want to get too risky if we don't have to. Now, with some of the running back situations we've seen, sometimes you don't have a choice. In the playoffs, we're going to lean on our studs. We're going to go to the guys who got us here. And Sutton is one of those guys, especially the last 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Right? Pretty consistent. So we got to go with Sutton. Griff has a one. I do love this parlay. Buffalo money line, Pittsburgh 5.5, Arizona, New England over 46.5. Really? I don't know if your Pats are going to be contributing to that. Arizona might need to be putting up a 40 burger. I like the Buffalo not practicing is interesting. Let's see the updated odds here. Let me just refresh. Let's take a peek-see here. The Buffalo not practicing kind of, and they're a good team, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But with Detroit, where are we here? Buffalo money line plus 122. I have the Lions covering the 2.5. The over under 54.5. I kind of like. I hope it's the over. But how many times do we see these games we expect to be shootouts and they just teams clam up? In Pittsburgh, yeah, man, stupid Steelers. Come on, birds, go get them, Philly. But I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of feeling the Steelers. I have them in at the 5.5 as well. If you think they're going to win straight up, you get a much better line, plus 210. Gosh, I hate the Steelers. How do those bums keep doing it year after year? Drives me nuts. Did you guys see, by the way, report from Mary Kay Cabot, who I have very, very good sources who have worked within the Cleveland Browns organization before, saying essentially Mary Kay Cabot is like a bit of a sleeper agent for the ownership. So she'll get fed stuff. And so when she puts things out, it's not so much that you're looking at if it's breaking news, but it's kind of what the ownership group wants you to get ready for or know. Now, I was pleased that the internal show, Cleveland Browns Daily, we've had Nathan Zagura on the program a number of times, friend of the show. He was kind of writing off Watson, which if you're in the building, you're literally, how that studio is set up, it's called the Dog Bowl. It's a glass window. The GM coaches, they're walking by and it's going over the speakers. So if they're saying something, people are going to hear it in the building. Nathan was kind of shying away from that a couple of weeks ago. Mary Kay saying they're going to let Deshaun Watson compete. What does compete mean? You cannot put that guy in front of the home crowd. You can't do it. One, because he's terrible. Hello? And they said there's still some belief he can turn it around. That is just stupid stubbornness, straight up. If you are in that building and you truly believe in your heart of hearts Deshaun Watson can turn it around, you're not a good football evaluator. You're not. Fired. Bye. Get out. Not interested. Point to me. Hope is not a strategy. I can hope to win the lottery. I can hope that Deshaun Watson plays well. I think winning the jackpot in the lottery is a better get. How can you look at how that guy's played and make the offensive line? Okay. Well, Jameis Winston comes in, Flacco before that, all the other quarterbacks. And they're playing well, or at least putting up points. Watson's a wash. You want to bring him to camp? Like, I guess. Park his ass. You made this bed of the worst trade in NFL history, the worst contract, salary cap hell. The fans have to suffer for it. And let me say this. If you put him in a, quote, competition in training camp and he wins legit, that means the quarterback you drafted, which we hope is somebody notable, even if it's in theory, a bad year. But again, depends on situation. Who thought Bo Nix was going to be lighting it up? Not many. Went to the right situation. It means your draft pick quarterback and the veteran you brought in or kept with Jameis Winston played bad, played poorly, terribly. And then that's another indictment on the incompetence of the front office because you pick bad players and Deshaun Watson. I've seen enough of Deshaun Watson. I can't, who's clamoring to see this guy in the building? That's just stubbornness. That's pure stubbornness and ego. Ego kills talent. And that building is full of the stupidest smart people I've ever seen in my life. Oh, sorry. I had to get that out. Over is a fun one. Yeah. With the Lions. What a departure. Sorry, Griff. With the Lions-Bills game, that's going to be a great game. Yeah, let's see one more fantasy update here. Just see if there's any injury-wise. How are you guys looking? And how many people are in their fantasy playoffs? I'm in it in 2 leagues, and then the one I'm in with Griff, I'm in the consolation. Cooper Kupp gave me a big fat 0, by the way. Thanks for nothing, Kupp. Boy, was that the most boring Monday night game ever? Holy cow. Yeah, it doesn't look like any other injury updates at the moment. So again, the ones we want to be checking the 90-minute before game time. David Njoku for the Browns. And the later game, the late afternoon game, Ladd McConkey. Okay. And Bucky Irving. Looks like Irving's a bit closer than potentially McConkey. Track those, have a backup plan. Again, Keon Coleman, nice little backup potential for McConkey if you need some wide receiver help. I think it's a good little get there. Griff has 1 semi, 1 consolation, 1 win a minute. I'm in. There you go. All right, busy little fantasy Sunday for you. Okay, guys, great stuff. Thank you so much to Hustler, Andrew Paterson, for jumping on, building the ultimate parlay ticket and the after party ticket. Lay a couple bucks down on that with the DraftKings Sportsbook app using code 6sports. Remember, $5, $200 bonus bets. Great stuff. And thanks to all of you jumping in the chat. Fantasy football playoffs, folks. You have any other questions leading up? Get me on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. Make sure you're following. Use hashtag AskAndy. Instagram too, at AndyMCSports. Let's have a good little football Sunday. Thanks to producer Shane, to Huss as the guest, and to all of you. Let's go beat those Chiefs, huh? Go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.